America. Land of blue jeans, muscle cars, bald eagles, and burgers.
This country is the United States. I'm Jordan.
I'm Kayla.
I'm Lily.
And I'm Maddie.
Now on to the video.
This is America. Don't catch you slipping now. Don't catch you slipping now. Look what I'm whipping now. This is America.
Geography.
You know what, I'm a chicken fried.
The geography is diverse in America because there are
Rivers, oceans,
Lakes.
deserts,
Plains. Mediterranean environment.
This also means that there are various climates. In total, the United States has 3.8 million miles.
The United States has vast plains and contains over 250,000 rivers.
Each region of the United States has natural resources and climates that are specific to the area. Population and migration.
I can't run.
Okay,
Go now.
the United States is considered a melting pot because it features several migrants from all over the world, including Mexico, Haiti, China, India, and Africa.
The population density of a country is a measure of total population relative to land size, and the U.S., with a territory of 3,717,425 square miles, had a population of 294.5 million in 2004.
Yeah, it did.
The state's population density is 79 per square mile for America.
The major focus of the North American population cluster lies in the USA, in the urban complex along the eastern seaboard from Boston to Washington, D.C., including New York, Philadelphia, and Baltimore.
The cities of megalopoli account for more than 20% of the U.S. population.
A census is a periodic and official count of a country's population. Various groups have protested this method of trying to count every person in the country, especially in the 2000 census. Many minorities were not included in the counting. Federal funding counts on an accurate count of the population data, and if a disadvantaged group is undercounted, it results in a loss of dollars for city governments. Advocacy groups urge the census to sample the population and derive population statistics from the samples, and argue this would more accurately represent a true count of the people in the U.S. The United States Bureau continued to conduct its census, and despite its access to technology and powerful forces, estimates claim that the 2000 census undercounted the U.S. population by over 3.3 million people.
Total fertility rate is the average number of children born to a woman of childbearing age.
America's total fertility rate was about 1.8 children per woman as of 2016.
Go.
Stationary population means that a population would stabilize and cease to grow or decline.
In the 1980s, the World Bank predicted that the U.S. would reach stationary population growth in 2035 with 276 million inhabitants.
Migration is the movement of people and how it impacts them in their environment.
Human movement speeds the diffusion of ideas and innovations and intensifies spatial interactions. A type of periodic movement is migrant labor, which involves millions of workers in the U.S.
The need for migrant labor in the farm fields of California, Florida, and other parts of the country creates a large flow of cross-border movers, many of whom eventually become immigrants.
Military service is another form of periodic movement, and in a given year, 10 million U.S. citizens in the military and their families are moved to new locations.
Internal migration occurs within a single country's borders, and major internal migration movements in the U.S. are carrying migrants to the Sun Belt and far west.
Voluntary migration occurs after a migrant weighs options and choices to move, and the enormous European migration to the U.S. during the 19th and early 20th centuries is an example of this.
An example of forced migration in the U.S. is the Atlantic slave trade. The United States experiences two major waves of migration before 1930. During the 1800s, the United States opened its doors to immigration, and most of the immigrants arrived from Europe and Western Europe. Following World War I, political tides in the U.S. turned toward isolationism, and in 1910, Congress set immigration quotas, where each year, European countries could permit the immigration to the United States of 3% of the number of its nationals living in the U.S. This caused a rapid fall in the total immigration to the United States, just prior to the Great Depression.
Cultural patterns and processes.
The most common religions in the U.S. include Christianity, Catholicism, Baptist, Mormon, and Lutheran. The common places of worship are churches and temples. Religions like Catholicism, Lutheran, Baptist, and Mormon are all branches of Christianity with different beliefs. For example, Baptists believe that faith is a matter between God and the individual, where Lutherans believe that humans are saved from their sins by God's grace. Both faiths believe in the same God, but their teachings differ. There are also other religions from people who have migrated into the country, like Judaism and Hinduism. There are many ethnic neighborhoods in the U.S., including Hasidic Jews in Brooklyn, New York, Italian Americans in Boston, Massachusetts, and Chinatown in places like San Francisco and Los Angeles.
These neighborhoods help assimilate immigrants into the U.S. as well as providing a connection among their common group and keeping their cultural identity and traditions. These neighborhoods have influenced the United States culture. The main language in the United States is English. There are around 230 million English speakers, 37 million Spanish speakers, 3 million Chinese speakers, and 2 million French speakers. These various languages are due to immigration and the creation of ethnic neighborhoods. Both immigrants and technology have diffused new ideas and knowledge throughout the U.S.
Political organization of space.
Behind us. Okay. America is a multi-state nation because it has many different ethnicities under the American government.
In America, citizens have many freedoms and the right to vote because they are a federal democracy.
The United States has also annexed many places such as Hawaii and Alaska.
The Constitution acts as a basic outline for the government by listing people's rights.
Agricultural and rural land use.
Okay. In the United States, there's wheat and corn everywhere.
Oranges in California and Florida.
Strawberries in California.
Cheese in Wisconsin.
Woo!
The United States has over 2.2 million farms, averaging around 418 acres each.
Sales of organic food in the U.S. went from $200 million in 1980 to $1.5 billion in the early 1990s, and then over to $10 billion by 2003, and it keeps growing 20% annually.
The United States uses less pesticides and more organic agriculture techniques, which means that there's less use of pesticides and fertilizers.
The best-selling organic crop in the United States are fruits and vegetables, accounting for 42% of organic food sales, followed by non-dairy products at 15% and dairy at 13%.
Agriculture in the U.S. has changed drastically in the past 50 years.
The production of food in the U.S. is at an all-time high. However, labor is declining.
In 1950, one farmer could barely feed 27 people, but now one farmer can feed 135 people.
Thanks to new machinery, food production rates have gone up. The new technologies, including hybrid seeds, GMOs, and the use of pesticides, help to increase the amount of food produced on a farm. However, these are now decreasing in use.
These high-producing farms account for 43.9% of agricultural goods in 2002, whereas in 1989 they were only at 28.9%.
The United States leads the world's production of genetically engineered crops with 30% corn and 80% of soybeans. Soybeans are grown and recently found in the eastern moisture region of the state of South Dakota.
The United States also performs ranching, grain farming, dairying, mixed livestock, and crop farming.
America also focuses on commercial agriculture rather than subsistence, and imports and exports various crops. The organization of agriculture and land use follows the von Thunen model, where market gardening and dairying is closest to the city, then the forest, then extensive field crops such as grains, and finally ranching livestock.
industrialization and economic development.
That one's so boring.
Okay. America is fully industrialized and one of the highest economically producing countries.
They're located in stage 4 of the demographic transition model, which means there are low birth rates and low death rates, resulting in stabilized population.
America industrialized in the early 1800s is now deindustrializing.
America is located in high mass consumption because they have a lot of consumed goods, high incomes, a diminished primary sector, and high concentration of population in urban areas.
Most people work in the tertiary sector or above.
Cities and urban land use.
Okay. Cities have the highest population densities, such as New York and Los Angeles, which are also economic centers.
Urban spaces often feature sport parks, performing art centers, and office retail buildings.
Agricultural land use is currently declining in America, which may be a result of eco-friendly policies such as protected land and national parks. It also results from urban sprawl and agglomeration occurring from city centers. The term megalopolis is used by urban geographers to describe huge urban agglomeration. Many believe that it is only a matter of time before the cities fuse into an enormous megacity.
3, 2, 1. The most common organization is the grid pattern near cities and long lot survey in rural areas. Many cities such as LA, New York, and Chicago are organized following the multiple nuclei, sector, concentric zone, galactic, and the Hoyt sector models. I'm really good at this.
Okay. The urban real. I can't say that word. Sorry. The urban real. How do you say that?
Realms.
Oops. The urban realms model features a central business district with several edge cities. The multiple nuclei model is based on the division of the city that has separations that come from socioeconomic status, industrialization, and commercial businesses.
The concentric zone model shows a CBD that transitions into residence because there are a lot of commuters. The concentric zone model shows a CBD that transitions into residence because there are a lot of commuters. The Hoyt sector model has multiple sectors breaking off from the CBD and including low rent residential and high rent residential. Also including education, recreation, and industrial areas. Most of the borders and voting districts within each state were formed by the U.S. Census. Bye.
This also means okay. Sorry, I came into Lily. Okay. This also means that there. This also means that there are various climates. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, dang.
Stop. Why is it on already?
Because we have to film everything.
I know, but then we just have let's do it in sections because then I can't cut like 5 different parts.
True.
God.
Sorry.
I'm so funny. I can't reach.